ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining us. My name is Councilman Kern Price with the Economic Development and Jobs Committee, and I am joined by my colleagues, Hugo Soto Martinez, Adrian Desardian, and Tracy Park. Councilwoman Tracy Park is with us. Okay, Ms. Clerk, why don't you call the roll so we can get this meeting started?
Councilmember Price.
Here.
Councilmember Soto Martinez.
Here.
Councilmember Jurado. Absent. Councilmember Nazarian.
Present.
Councilmember Park.
Here.
4 present and a quorum, Mr. Chair.
All right, thank you. We're going to go into public comment, after which we will continue item 2 and then proceed with the agenda. Would you give us our instructions, Mr. Clerk?
Members of the public wishing to give public comment can sign up at the kiosk in the back. You will have 1 minute per item on the agenda for a total of up to 2 minutes for 2 or more agenda items. And you will also have 1 minute for general public comment.
All right, first up.
I will go ahead and call the first couple names. Henry, Audit LA, and Kirsten Peterson.
Okay. I don't know why I thought this was housing, so I'm like a little bit off, like discombobulated, but let's go. Okay, so with all the workforce development, I think it's really important to make sure that everybody is paid a fair wage. I've brought up Scientology numerous times and the fact that they, you know, I guess as a religious exemption, they're allowed to pay their people $47 a week for 100 hours a week work. And if you're in the RPF, it's 1/4 that amount of money, but you don't get a reduction in time. That's if you're in their internal prison. Yes, they do have their own internal prison. So as you're doing all this workforce development and helping people get good jobs and helping people be treated fairly, I just want to remind you that in this city, in Mr. Hugo's area and other areas, especially in that big blue building, there's, you know, like this poor, very old gentleman vacuuming L. Ron Hubbard Way or steam cleaning it, whatever he's doing. He's making slave wages, which is illegal on state streets. They're public. And so is this going to include my, like at 1, is that my, because I get lost on this.
You have 3 minutes in entirety.
Okay, so at 1 is my public comment, right? So I have 45 more seconds to talk about that. Traffic slavery still goes on in this country. Imagine and Mr. Nazarian, there is a Scientology in your district too. And I know they're going to try to fair game, not fair game, they're trying to safe point you, but know that those workers in the Sea Org, if they're in the Sea Org, they make $47 a week. They're working 110 hours. And a lot of times they're doing very hard labor if they're in their jail system, which is called the RPF. That should not be happening in America today. They get away with it because they say, well, it's our religious, you know, practice. Slavery or slave labor is not a religious practice. Okay, I'm just going to go to. So as we're talking about, another thing with work is they keep getting street permits, and the workforce here, BSS is not doing their job. They keep giving them permits for street closures, even though they continuously violate those. They do not have fire lanes. They completely block the fire lanes. And I know that concerns Mr. Soto Martinez deeply because he would lose a lot of constituents if anything ever happened at Big Blue and the fire department couldn't get in, or if on Easter, if all those hundreds of children got harmed because the fire department or ambulance was blocked. I know this upsets him, and I believe that with all my heart. He just doesn't know how to handle it because it's Scientology, because they are ruthless and, you know, they, whatever. But this is going on, and these they have to stop giving them all these permits to keep closing that road because they still are not opening up the fire lanes, and they're not letting people go through. Thank you.
Been joined by Councilwoman Jurado. Welcome. Next speaker, please.
Hello? Hello? All right. Before I begin, can I just get a point of clarification on the time? So 3 total minutes for all comments, general and items? Okay. All right. So I just want to start off on a comment I had regarding these items. Now, I know one of the sitting council members, Hugo Soto Martinez, loves to suppress the public comment of the public. And for some reason, he has this absolute addiction and obsession with one guy in particular named William Good. And I'm concerned that we can't possibly vote on these motions where Hugo is actively suppressing people's ability to attend public hearings and ask questions. And we don't know if Will right now is terrified to be here because he'll get bogusly trespassed by Hugo on a bullshit claim that he's trespassing on a public property. For some reason, despite it being on video, Hugo loves and loves to trespass people illegally and claim that he can't hear them and claim that he's hearing them, yet literally not hearing them and literally choosing to suppress their public comment. Hugo, interestingly enough,
So you should be making comments about a member directly if you have a comment to make, fine, but no personal attacks.
Yep, and on the first item, we're talking about workforce development. I saw the vote be casted by a council member, and the rest of the board on the city council accepted it, where it's higher wages for one specific union in the Hollywood area, but not higher wages for the rest of the hospital workers. How is it that that's fair and equitable? I thought that that's what the workforce development program is supposed to be about, that it's fair and equitable for all, not just particular unions that are favorable to certain council members, certain political supporters. And you have 3 of those such motions on your hand here. So I ask, if it's supposed to be about fair and equitable workforce development programs and fair and equitable wages for all, why is it then that some unions are getting absolute sweetheart deals, and favoritism, whereas others are not? Despite the fact that we know, right, we know the clear conspiratorial and criminal acts and collusion between gang activities by entities like Scientology, and they're spearheaded by the city attorney herself, Heidi Feldstein Soto. We know the collusion between the two. And so how can you possibly sit here and vote in good faith on any of these motions? Well, we know for a fact your council members are voting for higher wages for just 1 or 2 unions that belong to them, that the city attorney is using the LAPD at public hearings to suppress public comment and doesn't have the guts to go out of herself, her own way, and say outright that she's doing so, even though we can literally see it, and they're telling us that they're being pressured and we can see it. So how about you stop using them to suppress public comment? How about you say it for yourself on the record that you're using them? All right, stop using them to do your dirty work.
Okay, next, please. Next speaker.
All right. Good morning. Let's start with item number 2. Thank you. It's about council president. It's about a local hire program for the Olympic. Yes, I am a big supporter of the local hire program because I have several friends are actually trying to get into the local hire program. I have neighbors. Her name is Buzetti, and then she is actually a retired woman. But right now, because of the inflation, because of the housing prices, she is forced to go down Figueroa and work on Figueroa day and night over again. So I wish that if we have this local hire program, I wish that you can send your staff member, you can send your field representative. Let's take a walk on Figueroa Street. Let's see how many women are down there. Let's see how many men are down there. And let's see how many transgender are down there. How can we bring all of those George Buzetti into this local hire program? Now, let's move on to item number 3. Thank you very much, Council President Price. It's about the 5-year workforce development plan. Probably you hate me very, very much. I hear you. But last week, you guys voted for a $30 minimum wage hotel for the next 5 years. For me, I want to ask you, how is that sustainable? When you are having a $30 minimum wage hotel worker, you already know what is going to happen. The hotel are going to shut down. The hotel owners are not able to operate their business anymore. You already know that hotel business workers are going to move to other city, other state, where they can hire a worker, let's just say $14 per hour. I call it a reasonable minimum wage. But when you are talking about $30 minimum wage, I don't know. Are you a city of a trillion dollar budget? How can you afford that? I'm concerned. I'm gonna ask you a question. I did not attack you because you said personal attack is not allowed, so I'm only asking you a question. Move on to my general public comment is again, my concern is still, I have so many family members, I have so many sisters, brothers, and neighbors are working down Figueroa day and night. And then in the super cold winter, they have to wear a bikini. In the super hot summer, they have to wear a bikini. No matter what season, no matter what's the weather condition, they have to wear a bikini walking down the street just to make sure they have enough food, they have enough water, they can continue to pay the rent. So I just wondering that if those Figueroa girl reach out to your office, you know, if they don't have food, can you guys provide some assistance? And then if we have thousands of options for local hire, can we make sure put them into your consideration? Thank you very much for your time.
Next speaker, please.
I will now call the next three speakers: Hishaboe, F-Word, and Shaniqua.
When speakers come to the podium, if you could please state your name and the items on which you wish to speak.
I heard, motherfucker. Niggas, we're talking about LA 28 community, local hire program, public release of information. Well, as far as I'm concerned, fuck Heidi and fuck your union collusions and your Scientology. I'm gonna shine right now. I'm gonna show McCocker, Buckethead, that we don't see any local hire program to benefit us white niggas too. Look at this 30-year hotel worker fucking program created for 5-year workforce development. Those motherfucking hotels are gonna close. Those motherfucking hotels are gonna raise their taxes, and motherfuckers are gonna demand we leave a tip. Here's a tip. Get one of these and take it with you to go on the way out, asshole. Spindler for District 1. Yeah, we need Spindler for District 1 for 5 years of workforce development strategic plan, because he's the only goddamn attorney that knows how to make shit work. The dumbass Heidi attorney and your bullshit fire lanes and your fucked up Scientology with your fucked up $41 a week to clean the goddamn sideway streets. That's called poverty pimps. You're all a bunch of poverty pimps. Talking to you, Hugo, and you over there, Baldy. Yeah, get your fucking Scientology program to work in the benefit of those motherfuckers that need a job. And look at number 6, enterprise local business, a fucking relative local program that doesn't benefit a white nigger too. That's why I'm here to make you understand on my MOU, a white motherfucker too, a nigga who's being suppressed by his free speech because of Hugo Rossiter and all you other loyal niggas that are fools. Now into my public comment, US 395 444 1969 for the record. You all a bunch of dirty niggas. Send the Jews back to Israel. I plan to do my part to save America, make more jobs, build more hotels, and bring down those rates so all those white motherfuckers too can have a place to lounge. Other than that, you dumbass criminals are as stupid as that carrot ass who goes around telling she's gonna shine up your neighborhoods. No, motherfucking. Vote for Wayne Spindler. Wayne Spindler's gonna build you a city. Wayne Spindler's gonna put the lights on. Wayne Spindler's gonna put the goddamn trash in a receptacle. Goddamn homeless people off the fucking street. What the fuck has the bass ass done? other than put a carrot in front of her and like a fucking idiot, moron, stupid governor like Newscomb, pay attention. Trump!
Anyone else care to speak? If not, we will close public comment at this time. We're going to be continuing item 2, unless there's an objection. Okay, that shall be the order. What's next on the agenda, Mr. Clerk?
Communication from the mayor relative to the appointments and
I'm
reappointments.
sorry, do we need to call a vote on that
Sure.
item? Do we need to call a vote on that consent item? Okay, great. Okay, next item?
Item 1, communication from the mayor relative to the appointments of the reappointments and reappointments of members to the Workforce Development Board.
Okay, I know of at least one prospective member. Any members, why don't you come up to the table? Come on up. Mark? Oh, we have several here. Okay. Okay, Joe, why don't you just introduce yourselves and then tell us a little bit about your interest in serving.
Mr. Chairman, council members, and committee staff. Thank you for the opportunity to be considered for the appointment to the City of Los Angeles Work Development Board as a business representative. I'm Mark Lockheim, Chairman and CEO of Bobrick Washroom Equipment, a 119-year-old manufacturing company founded and headquartered in Los Angeles. Over the past 4 decades, I've had the privilege of helping grow and our business nationally and internationally while creating skilled manufacturing and management jobs in our community across the U.S., including right here in Los Angeles. Throughout my career, I've remained deeply committed to inclusive economic opportunity. My civic engagement includes leadership roles and long-standing involvement with United Way of Greater Los Angeles, where I was honored to chair the board and receive the Alexis de Tocqueville Award, and with the Los Angeles Area Chamber of Commerce, where I was board chair in 2022. These roles deepen my understanding of workforce barriers facing vulnerable Angelenos, from housing insecurity to skills gap, and how public-private partnerships can meaningfully address them. I've also worked directly with educational and workforce stakeholders as a panelist and moderator at summits hosted by CSUN, the Chamber's Education Summit at LMU, and the Valley Economic Alliance, discussing how industry can align with training institutions to build pipelines into family-sustaining careers. I'm currently a member of the Chamber's Workforce Development Committee, working on an initiative to help connect the dots of the workforce pipeline ecosystem with partners in healthcare and the community colleges. With a background in operations, marketing, and workforce leadership, I bring both a business perspective and a passion for building equitable access to economic opportunity. If appointed, I will advocate for policies that upskill local talent, expand pathways for youth and reentry populations, and ensure our regional economy remains competitive and inclusive. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments.
Thank you. Good afternoon,
Sir, Joe.
council members. Armando Loza, Executive Director of the Miguel Contreras Foundation. I am a first-generation Mexican-American. My parents came here from Mexico. They worked at Farmer John. Well, my father worked for Farmer John for 40 years. He was a proud member of the UFCW. I started in workforce development, so I'm a product of the Los Angeles system at the age of 14. And I've been working in workforce development for the past 25 years. I ran an America's Job Center under the county system, and I continue to advocate for youth programs, young worker voice and opportunity youth. So I've been working closely with communities for the past 25 years. Recently, I went back to school to get a business degree at USC Marshall, focusing on social entrepreneurship and ensuring that nonprofits, like the foundation that I work at, create sustainable long-term plans, and that we work closely with private and public sectors to ensure that nonprofits can be sustainable. At the foundation, program partner of the Los Angeles County Federation of Labor, we ensure that the investments around workforce, job creation are plentiful for not only our members, but for individuals who are interested in joining high road and union jobs. And so we continue to advocate for all of our affiliates and for all of our community members. We recently joined a 5-year MOU with the Miguel Contreras Learning Complex. We really are interested in creating a pipeline for opportunity youth, create a framework for long-term sustainability for this workforce. Thank you.
Okay. Well, thank you, Armando, for your commitment. Next.
Hello, my name is Victor Reyes. A proud Angelino, born in East LA, raised in South LA, south of Florence and Santa Fe, and a graduate of Los Angeles Trade Technical College. And so council members, good afternoon, and thank you for having me here. I want to thank you for considering me as a new appointee, looking forward to serve on a seat as a member of the labor in the workforce development. I am a member of the union, member and union business rep of IETSC Local 44 in my 29th year. I'm also a California Faculty Association union member, teaching at Cal State University, Dominguez Hills in the Labor Studies program, and also a faculty member at Los Angeles Trade Technical College, teaching in 2 departments, Labor Studies and one of our new training programs, Hollywood CPR, which I'm really excited to bring to LA Trade Tech. And it's a union entertainment training program, and we're looking forward to expanding on our training there. And so just preparing the next generation for our community members to have an opportunity to work in the entertainment industry. So really excited about that. I've been, I just want to express gratitude and having the opportunity to be here. So thank you so much.
Well, thank you, each of you, for your willingness to step up and serve. The Workforce Development Board is an important partner in our progress. It oversees more than $50 million in the public funds annually to the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act. And so you all would be directly involved in helping to manage those funds. In addition to you 3, there are 4 new appointments. Max Arias, who's not here with us today, and the mayor is reappointing 9 other members. And these members represent the ranks of education, economic development, organized labor, as well as key labor positions. So we just appreciate your willingness to serve. Members, any questions for our candidates? Yes.
Not a question, just a comment. First and foremost, thank you for throwing your hat in, your name in the hat, or raising your hand to want to serve. It's a extremely fulfilling and honorable opportunity to be able to serve your city and to help provide the expertise that you've garnered in your arena of work, to be able to share it with the city and to improve upon our internal workings. And I want to also take a minute and apologize to all of you for having to listen to the garbage that was said during the public comment time. That's a regular occurring. By the way, you're warned right now. You're warned. That was your only warning right now. I'm looking at you. So one more noise and you're going to be removed. So I apologize that you need to go through this, and I apologize to the rest of the audience that needs to hear this garbage as well, because the words that are said should not be spoken in any type of a public setting, nor to intimidate anyone who wants to participate in the public process. So thank you for stepping up, and I look forward to working with all of you. And Mr. Lakaim, it's wonderful to see you. Thank you for your family's contributions to this city over the course of the last century as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Zardi, for your comments. Well said. I move that we approve the recommendations of the mayor for the Workforce Development Board. Is there a second? Second.
Councilmember Price.
Aye.
Councilmember Soto Martinez.
Yes.
Councilmember Jurado.
Yes.
Councilmember Nazarian.
Aye.
Councilmember Park.
Yes, yes, and yes. Congratulations.
5 yeses. This item is approved.
All right, gentlemen, thank you for your service. Look forward to seeing you in council.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll take item 6 up next. Mr. Clerk.
Bureau of Contract Administration reports relative to the Local Business Enterprise Local Business Preference Program.
Okay, can we ask BCA to the table, please? Okay, Mr. Reamer, I'll let you kick us off. So maybe an overview discussion of our local preference policy. Good afternoon.
There we go. Good afternoon, council members. It's good to be here. John Reamer, your Inspector of Public Works, Director of the Bureau of Contract Administration. With me, I have Linda McGlinchey, who is our contract program manager, if I get that right, over our Office of Contract Compliance, and Mark Gutierrez. And we're going to present for you the local business preference to give you a background as to how it started and where it is and where we think it can go.
Good afternoon, council members. Linda McGlinchey. I am here to provide you a little history and background on the Local Business Preference Program. It was first established by ordinance in 2011. At that time, BCA was given the honor of being named the designated administrative authority. However, we were not given any positions to administer the Local Business Preference Program. As such, we created the program for our contracting documents and started it as a self-certification for local business. But there are issues with that. We had protests, they delayed contract awards. One of the primary examples was a LAWA CNG contract where the LBE claimed to hold management meetings and receive mail at their address. We had a protest prior to the award. Staff looked into it because at that time, as a self-cert, we looked if the address on the ramp profile matched the application, they were approved. There was no looking into it. But because of that protest, we investigated. And what we found was the site visit revealed a self-serve pumping station with a porta potty. And this is supposedly where they were having their management meetings and receiving mail. So as a result of that, in 2016, we were given one position in the budget. And we've been monitoring and administering the local business program ever since. In 2021, the ordinance was amended. This time it was to fold in the small local business and transitional job opportunities preference program ordinances and create consistency in the certification criteria and eliminating a preference gap in that our local business preference kicked in at contracts over 150,000. The aforementioned small local business and transitional job opportunity ordinances had a maximum preference for contracts with a maximum value of $100,000. So there was a gap between the 100,000 and 150,000 where there was no sort of local related preference. In 2022, Measure BB was passed, changing our city charter and allowing for a city local preference. So in 2023, the ordinance was again amended, and this time it created a city business enterprise designation for certified local businesses located within the city. And so we've been working with that ever since. The preference allows for a higher preference for city business enterprises than county, those that are not in the city, and as well as a slightly different preference allotment for non-LBE primes. We do allow them to receive a preference for utilizing
Now, receiving a preference, but is that a point? You said receive a preference. What's the preference?
So for a city business enterprise, they start with a 10% preference. If they happen to have a local small business or a LTE, which is a local transitional employer, they can receive another 2%. Maximum preference that they can receive is 12%. For a regular non-city local business, they start with a 6% preference. They can receive an additional 2% as a local small business and another 2% as a local transitional employer for a maximum of 10%. And for
I'm sorry, a transitional employer?
Yes, that was what used to be the transitional job opportunity. So now it's a local transitional employer. And then the non-LBE prime utilizing LBE subcontractors can receive up to a maximum of 5% for utilization of those local subcontractors. Now, our current local business related efforts, one, we've established a certification coalition to regionalize LBE certifications throughout through a recognition and reciprocity process. In creating the coalition, what we've done is look to our LA 28 venues to become the starting point for the coalition, working with LA County and Long Beach, other participants being cities of Inglewood, Pasadena. We also have Metro and the Southern California Metropolitan Water District, all having some sort of local program. And what we're working for is efficiency as well as synergy in getting the local businesses more work. Since 2011, the LBPP certification application's been through the respective business ramp profile by downloading the application, filling it out, and then uploading a PDF. And our analysts then review to ensure that they meet the criteria. Since then, we've had various efforts towards creating an online business certification application. During our first chief procurement officer, we had a pilot program with a company called Avisair. And then after that, we looked internally with RAMP. And we've currently had the effort to simply digitize the LBE application on RAMP by the end of the fiscal year. However, that has currently been placed on hold. So with that, I will turn it over to Mark to talk about our LBPP annual reports.
Thanks, Linda. Good afternoon, council members. I'd like to pass out a report, if that's okay, going over 10 years worth of data on LBPP.
Okay.
So again, the report that will be handed to you covers a 10-year period of LBPP. You'll see that the average annual spend is about $2.5 billion year after year. and that's spend on contracts eligible for the LBPP. You'll see on a range of 11 to 35% dollars awarded to to LBEs, and then 1 to 7% of those dollar awards went to LBEs due to the program. So again, key points there: 2.5 billion spend per year. 11 to 35% of those dollar awards went to local businesses, and 1 to 7% of those dollar awards were a result of the local business preference program.
Any questions? Members, any questions on this? Let you start.
Thank you so much. You know, this is something I was thinking about recently, and thank you for giving the history. Sounds like you have one staff on this, so I will be nice, because I know it takes a lot of work to do this. Can you just, I'm looking at this chart for fiscal year 21-22 LB awards, LBPP awards, 8 awards totaling $28 million. Can you just what describe that?
Certainly. So 8 awards in that fiscal year 21-2022, was a result of the local business preference program. Linda went into the details of how that's applied with the 6, 8, 10% preferences. There were a total of 913 awards to LBEs that year, but only 8 were a result of the LBPP. Dollar-wise, that was $28.7 million, accounting for 0.78% of the spend that year.
Do you know, so 8 LBPPs were awarded $28 million. Do you know what they were awarded to do or provide?
So this is citywide. I could look into the details there. Yeah, I'm not sure.
I'm just, I guess that the thing that I've been thinking a lot about is, and maybe this matches, maybe it doesn't, like the city buys a lot of paper. We buy a lot, we buy a lot of stuff, and many of these are, I assume, are awards being reported in this. Is that correct?
Yeah, citywide, so things like that would be included here, yes.
And does this include, so it includes supplies that we buy. What else does it include?
Supplies were in public works, so construction of bridges, sewers, but yeah, drilling down, it does include supplies that the city.
Concrete, wire, all this stuff that we buy. Okay. Is there a breakdown about, I get the LB and LBPP, but like going a little more granular, like how many of those are Black-owned, women-owned, Latino-owned, Armenian-owned, queer-owned, like things like that?
We could get that in public works. It would be an effort to ask for that citywide and for BCA to put that together.
Okay. I might follow up just on just private. So I might follow up privately because as we're thinking about the Olympics, and that sort of has its own procurement, it sort of led me down a path of like, well, where does the city go? And this might be something I prioritize moving forward now that some stuff is off my plate. But in particularly, I've heard from a lot of small businesses in my district that just say it's very difficult to try to get city contracts. Now, I get it that they have their own challenges. Sometimes it's 2, 3 micro businesses, but having even just a small contract with the city could be like a complete game changer for them. So when we're talking about those Black-owned businesses in South Central, Latino-owned, like these are, and the fact that folks can even start a business like from those communities is like just shows the spirit that they have to navigate through so many hurdles. But how do we connect this and using our city, all these city awards that we do to support them? I think it's something I think about a lot. I think a lot of us think about that. But I will have some more questions privately. But thank you.
You started a question, Hugo, and I think we all have an interest in terms of the World Cup and the Olympics coming up. How can we leverage the participation of our local businesses in these 2 activities coming up? What are we doing so far, kind of laying groundwork, and what can our businesses expect?
I'm going to temper my passion here, Councilmember.
Okay, it's all right.
I know many of you desire local business participation. And one of the things that we have done in Public Works is we initiated what we refer to as community level contracting. And it takes into account many of the things that have been mentioned here already with respect to underrepresented business, being minority or women-owned, small local businesses. The term unbundling that many of you are probably familiar with is the approach that we use so that we take a large contract where a small business really won't have the bandwidth or the infrastructure to be able to handle that and reduce it down to a smaller size so that we are able to provide them an opportunity not to operate as subcontractors but as prime contractors. We have 3 instances in Public Works where we've done that on our sidewalk program too, and then Bureau of Engineering on this architectural bench. And all of them, I would argue, are great because it has shown us that first-time bidders, as you alluded to, Councilmember, are participating in the process, whereas before there may have been an intimidation in doing so. As Linda alluded to, LA 28, we in the Bureau of Contract Administration, we sent out a call to action memo through Constant Contact to over 20,000 businesses. And we've had roughly 600 to 700 respond back. Our goal is to take them through a type of boot camp to prepare them for the opportunities that will exist, not just for LA 28, but also for the World Cup, the NBA All-Star that's coming, even though it's not in LA, LA will benefit from it, the Super Bowl that's coming, recognizing that it's not just preparing them for City of Los Angeles contract opportunities, but for many opportunities. My colleagues in the room behind me, the Economic Workforce Development Department, we want to work with the business source centers to serve as identifying portals where we can strategically train the businesses for what is going to be needed by, let's say, LA 28. And one of the things that we are waiting for LA 28 to provide us is their specifics with respect to the various taxonomy sectors that they've identified, be it security, hospitality, culinary, transportation, so that we can know exactly what they're looking for and we can prepare our small businesses to be able to engage. So the plan is in place. We are working it as best we can, and all the support that we get from you, we certainly appreciate.
Okay, members? Yes. Councilwoman Gerardo.
Thank you so much, Councilmember. For BCA, I know, Mr. Reamer, you and I share a passion for community level contracting. I wanted to hear if we have any garment manufacturers or merchandise that are part of this, maybe not the CLC, but of this program, because there will be a lot of merchandise for LA 28, right? And trying to figure out, we have a garment industry, people are raring to go, and making sure that our local manufacturers can participate in this program. So wondering if you know off the top of your head if there are any that are part of this.
Off the top of my head, I do not know. However, that is absolutely a sector that we should not eliminate. Again, we're working as best we can with LA 28 to have them share with us specifically where they see procurement opportunities, and not just at the point level, but the second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth tier levels. I don't want to remove that as an opportunity. And as I was sharing with someone the other day, separate and apart from LA 28, what we should not miss out on would be, as the many countries come to LA, creating inside of our ethnic enclaves business opportunities for those small businesses, so that it won't be part of necessarily the LA 28 dollars, but it will be, for lack of a better way of saying it, recreating home for those who come here. And what better way to do that but to use our businesses that have come from many different places to minister to, assist, and serve those who are coming here with their business expertise.
Yeah, I mean, I love that. I think we can travel the whole world in our city boundaries without having to leave it all, and showing folks how LA does it. How LA does it is going to be very exciting. So I think our office would love to work with you in developing those opportunities to highlight local businesses. In my district, various places, they have mentioned how they want to be part of this process. And I think Councilmember Hutt already did like a presentation or workshop for Ramp LA. And so I think my office is going to reach out to yours to make sure that we have that opportunity now, seeing as the Club Cup is coming in a couple months and the World Cup next year. And so trying to make sure that they can be prepared. So thank you.
Yeah, if I were to identify a weak spot right now, and I get it because of our economic issues that we're dealing with, but it would be outreach. How can we connect with our small businesses so they can know that we want them and that the opportunity exists? And it does not matter where you are. We are willing to and wanting to train because we already believe that they've taken the biggest leap, which is to start as an entrepreneur. But how can we partner with them to help them see that you can be successful? And from what I've seen in my discussions with many of you, there is that desire to do that. It's just how can we do that? I'm looking at Councilmember Park here, and we've attempted to do that somewhat with respect to the wildfires, in that not just debris removal, but also as the rebuild takes place, how can we utilize, and that may not be the best word, but how can we partner with those small businesses? Because it will take a number of people to accomplish what we want to on the scale that is before us. One big business won't get it done, but many hands make light work. So the more that we can have involved in the process, and not compromising quality, not compromising safety, but making sure that we give them those tools to be effective.
You know, on that line, we know that our micro businesses, smaller businesses, I'm calling a micro business someone with fewer than 20 employees. They obviously have a real high bar. What are we doing to assist these micro businesses, small businesses, to making sure they're getting a piece of the pie, or at least an opportunity to bid on some of these activities?
Well, that's why, and we use the term for us emerging business. We partner with the state of California so as to minimize the number of businesses that we actually have to certify. The number now is as high as, is it 5 for emerging business? The $6 million, 3-year annual average gross receipts. And again, what we find is many of these businesses reflect the fabric of Los Angeles. It's back to outreach. I will go back to RAMP. When RAMP started, it was not RAMP, it was Business Assistance Virtual Network, BAVN. And our thought behind it and our goal was to create an electronic marketplace where businesses can come and they can find out about these opportunities. And RAMP is the next iteration of that. The name itself, regional, recognizing that not just City of LA, but county, metro, private businesses all participating there and having this repository of businesses that are trained. So the partnership inside the city family is critical. Can it happen? I believe it can.
Well, it's going to be imperative that we do. And I know there's a lot of interest in making sure that as many of our businesses can participate, it can be active in this process as possible. And so we're going to be asking BCA to come back to the table another 3 or 4 months. Just give us an update. It's kind of where are we? Help us track what's going on and make sure that we're doing some fine tuning. The overall question, I think, that we all want to know is how do we streamline our procurement process so that, again, we can make it more effective and more efficient. And I guess, and I know that's something we're going to be discussing over the next several months. I don't want the answer today. We'd like to have it today, but we know we don't have it today. But let's just continue working to make sure we bring these resources together to help our businesses.
Absolutely.
Members, any other comments? Very close. All right, I'm going to move to approve the BCA report recommendations. Is there a second? Call the roll, please.
Just to clarify, we're noting and filing both BCA reports on the file. And so that's the November 15th, 2022 BCA report and the December 22nd, 2023 BCA report. Councilmember Price.
Aye.
Councilmember Soto Martinez.
Yes.
Councilmember Hurtado. Councilmember Nazarian.
Yes.
Councilmember Park. 5 ayes. These items are noted and filed.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, next item.
Workforce Development Board report relative to adopting the 5-year Workforce Development Strategic Plan.
All right, let's, EWDD, what's the table? EWDD? Good afternoon.
We would request to go a little out of order to do the discussion from LAPC first, because it'll be context to the 5-year strategic plan.
It's fine.
I'm Carolyn Hull, General Manager of the Economic. Hello, I'm Carolyn Hull, the General Manager of the Economic and Workforce Development Department. Really wonderful to see all of you here. Today, we're going to hear presentations regarding the Mayor's Office 5-year Workforce Development Strategic Plan and an overview of the proposed WorkSource system redesign and evaluation. However, we wanted to provide some foundational information regarding the economic base, workforce, and key socioeconomic characteristics of the resident population for the city and county of Los Angeles. There's an intricate dance between people, industry, and jobs in the dynamic tapestry of the Los Angeles region that has informed the conclusions and the recommendations of the 5-year strategic plan and the workforce development redesign. So I'm joined here by Shannon Sedgwick from LAEDC's Institute for Applied Economics, who will now provide a brief overview of the People, Industry, and Jobs report. But for those of you who have not received your copy of the data, we have several of the actual reports with us, and we're happy to drop them off for you. I just wanted to just show that all the work that has been done in all of these reports has been extremely data-driven, and LADC has been a wonderful partner in this process. I'm going to turn it over to Shannon and sit in the audience. Thank you.
Thank you. Shannon, floor is yours.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Carolyn. Good afternoon, council members. As Carolyn said, I'm Shannon Sedgwick. I'm Senior Director of the Institute for Applied Economics at LAEDC. It's a 501c3 nonprofit organization with a commitment toward equitable economic growth and resiliency. And thank you for the opportunity to share the findings from our massive People, Industry, and Jobs report, or PIJ for short. As Carolyn mentioned, this analysis was produced to support the LA City Workforce Development Board strategic planning process, and the report is intended to serve as a foundational piece, presenting an overview of the economic base, workforce, and key socioeconomic characteristics of the resident population. Today, I'll walk you through some key data points about LA's people, its industries, and the employment trends that shape opportunity. And if time permits, I can close with a quick snapshot of where we stand now in terms of our economy. So let's start with the big picture. LA County continues to be an economic powerhouse. Thank you. Home to more than 4.6 million non-farm workers with strong sector presence in healthcare, professional services, government, and retail. We added over 52,000 new jobs in 2023, which brought us over that pre-pandemic job level. And that's made possible because of our resilience here in the city and in the county. But it's not without challenges. So small businesses, those with fewer than 20 employees make up more than 94% of all firms in the county. They're vital, but often vulnerable during downturns and disruptions. So this is the context that we're operating in. The demographic trends in LA County and the city of LA have real implications for both economic development and workforce policy. So population has been declining since 2018. and projections suggest we'll continue to lose residents through 2060. And this is partly driven by high costs of living and housing unaffordability. So only about 11% of households in the county can afford a median-priced home, and more than half of renters in the city of LA are rent burdened, meaning they spend over 30% of their income on rent. At the same time, nearly 40% of our residents have a high school diploma or less, and that points to a clear need for job training and upskilling to prepare people for middle skill, higher wage jobs. So there's no way to talk about workforce opportunity without talking about equity. Income disparities persist, especially for women, people with disabilities, and communities of color. We took a closer look at some of the key groups in LA to better understand where disparities are showing up. For women, the poverty rate in the city is 18% compared to 15% across the county. Women in LA City are also more concentrated in lower wage occupations like production and transportation. Hispanic and Latinx individuals, they make up nearly half of the population, but face higher poverty rates and lower average household incomes in the city compared to the county. A larger share work in construction and maintenance, and those are occupations that don't always come with upward mobility unless they're tied to quality training pathways. And for Asian Pacific Islanders, there's a similar story, higher poverty rates in the city and household incomes that trail those in the broader county. Black Angelenos also face stark disparities. The average household income is lower in the city than in the county, and nearly 1 in 4 Black residents live below the poverty line. People with disabilities, older individuals, and youth ages 16 to 24 are all experiencing higher poverty rates in the city compared to the county. For young people, household incomes are lower, and although many are working, they're often in entry-level service roles that have limited mobility. Limited English proficiency, also a barrier to economic opportunity, and those individuals tend to work in construction and maintenance, but face wage gaps and are overrepresented in lower paying jobs. So these data points help guide where investment, both public and private, can have the most impact. And they highlight the urgency of programs that provide not just jobs, but access to careers. So before we dive into target industries and occupations, I want to note that much of the PIJ data is also available at a highly local level. We've included appendices that break out data by city council districts and community planning areas. So this information can support policy and programs that are tailored to your specific communities. Our analysis identified 8 target industries with high potential for economic and employment growth in Los Angeles over the coming years. These industries were chosen based on their projected job growth, alignment with regional economic strengths, jobs that provide living wages, and the availability of middle-skilled jobs, those that require education beyond a high school diploma but less than a 4-year degree. So the identified target industries include construction, transportation, motion picture and sound recording, healthcare services, social assistance, performing arts and spectator sports, biomedical manufacturing, and the green and blue economy, which is the cross-cut across multiple industries. So each of these sectors presents significant opportunities for workforce development, especially for those seeking stable and well-paying careers without needing a bachelor's degree. We also map target occupations to different education levels, focusing especially on roles that don't require a 4-year degree. So for residents with less than a high school diploma, we identified construction laborers, bus drivers, and industrial truck operators as strong options. For those with a high school diploma, roles like customer service representatives, sales reps, and medical secretaries offer viable career paths. And for middle-skilled jobs requiring more than a high school diploma but less than a bachelor's degree, there are opportunities in healthcare, bookkeeping, early childhood education, and IT support. So these are occupations that exist within our region that are growing and that can support upward mobility when paired with the right training and pathways. The WDB is choosing to focus on several target industries to maximize the impact by concentrating limited resources on sectors with the highest potential for job growth, quality employment, and economic mobility. particularly for workers without a bachelor's degree. So these selected industries align more closely with regional strengths, employer demand, and existing training infrastructure. And they also present urgent workforce needs due to labor shortages or disruption. So Los Angeles remains the global epicenter for film, television, and music production. The motion picture and sound recording industry encompasses motion picture and video productions, distribution, and exhibition. So that's including both pre- and post-production processes and services, sound recording, music publishing, and then record production and distribution. So projections indicate that by 2028, this industry will support 73,500 jobs in the city. And this industry not only contributes to economic growth, but also offers diverse career opportunities. Middle-skill occupations such as production assistants, audio technicians, and set designers provide entry points into entertainment sector. Healthcare is one of the fastest growing industries in LA County. The sector is resilient in economic downturns, offers career ladders, and serves a critical social need, especially as our population ages. In 2022, the city had over 185,000 healthcare jobs, and that's projected to grow by nearly 22,000 by 2028. And this includes everything from hospitals to outpatient clinics to long-term care. Many critical roles such as LVNs, medical assistants, and pharmacy technicians are well-paying jobs that require post-secondary training, but not a four-year degree. Performing arts, spectator sports, and related industries. This sector is uniquely strong in LA and includes both creative jobs and support roles in administration and operations. Since 2010, employment in this sector has grown by 90% in the city. It currently supports about 24,000 jobs and is expected to grow by another 15% through 2028. So this is an area where LA has a competitive advantage and continued opportunity. LA is the largest market now for collegiate and professional sports in the US, the LA Basin is. And upcoming major events like the 2028 Olympics will bring additional opportunities. Middle skill roles such as stage technicians, event coordinators, and sound engineers provide employment opportunities for those without a bachelor's degree. The biomedical sector, or bioscience, in LA County is experiencing significant growth, particularly in medical device manufacturing and pharmaceutical production. So this sector is smaller but growing, and it offers middle-skilled job opportunities that don't always require a degree. Projections indicate total employment will approach just under 3,000 jobs in the city by 2028. And careers such as laboratory technicians, quality control inspectors, and manufacturing specialists, they offer strong wages and career stability. I wanted to give construction an honorable mention with pent-up demand for housing, wildfire recovery, infrastructure dollars coming in, and then sustainability goals driving retrofits. The sector is poised to see increased demand for workers. It's also one of the most accessible sectors for living wage jobs that don't require a degree, offering pathways for local hire and workforce training tied to real projects. So occupations such as electricians, carpenters, and HVAC technicians, they provide stable career paths without requiring a bachelor's degree. So before I close, I wanted to briefly touch on the current state of the economy and what could potentially lie ahead for us. So there's been some shifts in the economic landscape as of late, and those changes rippled down to cities like Los Angeles, especially in trade-dependent sectors. Also, what's happening currently will affect our projections when it comes to industry forecasts and occupations. So let's just do a little bit, start here. So tariffs are driving a lot of what's going on in our economy at present. So I figured to talk a little bit about them. And if you don't know, most economists' view on tariffs, they view them as bad economic policy. And why? Because they make consumers worse off. So they impact a wide range of LA businesses, especially in trade, logistics, and manufacturing. Importers may pass the costs to consumers or reduce supply altogether, and that trickles down to employment and wage stability. In anticipation of these tariffs, businesses accelerated their imports. As a result, the U.S. trade deficit surged, doubling between October of 2024 and March of 2025. And that suggests that uncertainty and the front loading of goods, which can lead to a pullback later this year. We're also seeing signs of economic slowing. So in Q1 of 2025, GDP declined slightly. It's down 0.3% on an annualized basis. Although it should be noted this number is preliminary, so it is subject to revision. But the real question here is on business inventories and whether businesses simply imported a lot of goods early to stock up shelves or whether they pulled back on planned future spending here at home to do so, and because they are being cautious for the future. It can take longer to get firm data on business investment, so we'll know more in coming months on the extent of this slowdown and its influence. Looking forward, the Federal Reserve is anticipating slower economic growth because of the tariffs. The inflation rate still has not come down to a level that the Federal Reserve is happy with. And this has caused the Fed to keep interest rates high to slow the economy. Now with tariffs, the Fed is caught in a bind because tariffs are inflationary. It's reluctant to lower interest rates like it had originally planned. So the brakes are going to stay on the economy for a little longer. And this will reduce future economic growth and start to bump up unemployment. So economists argue tariffs are inflationary, but what do consumers think? And apparently they think the same thing. So short-term inflation expectations have jumped from 2.6% late last year to 7.3% this month. And that kind of jump in expectations can become self-fulfilling. If people expect prices to rise, they change behavior, which in turn affects demand and markets. Longer-term expectations have risen too, though more moderately. And finally, we're seeing a sharp drop in consumer sentiment. It's comparable to what we saw during the pandemic and inflation spikes. So the latest reading is 50.8, just above the low point from June of 2022. And that tells us the public is worried about prices, policy changes, and what comes next. So these headwinds, if sustained, could influence consumer spending and job creation here in LA. Part of the reason that we look at what's happening from the consumer perspective is because consumer spending accounts for approximately 68% of GDP, and that's how we measure economic growth. So let's shift to small business sentiment. Small businesses are often the first to feel shifts in the economic environment. According to the latest data, confidence among small business owners is waning, primarily due to inflation, rising input costs, and uncertainty around federal policy. So many are reporting tighter margins and delayed hiring plans. While some are still expanding, the pace has clearly slowed, and there's concern about what's ahead, especially in sectors like hospitality, personal services, and retail, which tend to be more sensitive to local consumer activity. And when we look at business sentiment more broadly, so that's across firms of all sizes, we see similar caution. High interest rates are dampening expansion plans, and many firms are reevaluating capital investments. For Los Angeles, where many industries are tied to global supply chains, uncertainty around trade and tariffs compound these worries. Employers are watching federal actions closely, especially those related to the labor market and interest rate policy. So, to summarize all of that, growth has slowed and a mild contraction may already be underway. Tariffs and interest rates are adding pressure. Consumer sentiment has fallen sharply and inflation expectations are rising. Small business confidence is softening. That said, the economy does remain dynamic. Economic and workforce development have never been more important than in an economy like this. And so strategic investments can provide the momentum that's needed to counterbalance much of these headwinds. And that's why local planning and data-driven action remains so important. So to wrap up, the LA economy has shown strength and resilience, but it is evolving. So population decline, rising inequality, and affordability crisis, they're reshaping the workforce landscape. And at the same time, we have bright spots. We have growing healthcare and green jobs, investments in infrastructure, and unique industry strengths in entertainment, sports, healthcare, and even bioscience. LA County's workforce is at a, LA City's workforce is at a pivotal moment. The target industries we've explored today present significant opportunities for economic growth, for job creation, and for workforce accessibility. However, success in these areas requires strategic investment in training, education, and workforce development programs. Our hope at LADC is that this PIJ report and today's briefing help support the city's work in shaping economic and workforce strategies that are inclusive, data-informed, and responsive to the needs of real Angelinos. Thank you for your time today.
Okay, thank you for the report. Members, any questions?
I have some questions. Well, actually, not so much questions, but more comments. Thank you for the presentation, and thank you for EWDD. I think these are the same books I got some while ago. It is a lot of data. Folks should look through them because it really gets to the granular level, even down to your district. Yeah, I just want to say thank you for really looking into this. It's good because I do think this was very important in thinking about the redesign and where we put a lot of our energy. So I just want to say thank you.
Anybody else? Again, I want to thank you for the report. This is really foundational material that we need and we'll have to use going forward. And I appreciate the partnership of LAEDC with the City Department, City Family, working to make sure that all this information comes to the fore. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, well, let's have our follow-up item. Item 3.
Workforce Development Board report relative to adopting the 5-year Workforce Development Strategic Plan.
Okay, friends, you're.
Hi, good afternoon, council members. It's a privilege to be here today. My name is Tammy Ortuño. I'm the Director of Workforce Development for Mayor Paz. And here with me I have
Hannah Lee, Executive Director for the Workforce Development Board. So thank you for having us here today. We're here to follow up on LAEDC's PIJ report to talk about the initiatives that the Workforce Development Board has led and specifically give you an overview on our 5-year workforce strategic plan. And so just for some context setting, due to the pandemic, ongoing economic changes, and then also the rapid evolution of technology in 2023, the Workforce Development Board decided to undergo a strategic planning process. And that was really to think about how we can adapt workforce programs and services to meet the future needs of employers and job seekers. And so that's what we're here to talk about today. Before we give you an overview of the plan, we just want to talk about the focused approach and engagement process we went through in order to actually develop this 5-year plan. So we started off in collaboration with Civic Makers, which is an organization, a consultant that specializes in human-centered design. The Workforce Development Board went through a 9-month engagement process to discuss with the various stakeholders the needs of the workforce development system. And so as you can see, we spoke to several organizations, both on the systems level, that includes like our counterpart at the Department of Economic Opportunity in LA County, DWP, personnel, CIFD, et cetera, but also community organizations and partners like Goodwill SoCal, Hospitality Training Academy, et cetera, to really get rounded feedback on our workforce development system. And so through that, we spoke to nearly 150 people across 60 organizations that served as contributors, thought partners, and reviewers to really test and vet our strategy. That included 35 interviews, 11 focus groups, and 5 public meetings. I believe several council officers were part of this process as well, and so we appreciate your participation and feedback. And so this engagement process really identified 4 overall goals. The need to get more specific, and that's population specific, right, to meet the needs of different constituents, but also have specific metrics and accountability. Needing to think large scale as well as locally. So to Shannon's point, right, we are in a regional economy, and so we have to think that way as well, but also locally and for virtual opportunities. And the need to focus on small businesses as well as large businesses. The need to raise standards and desired income, so not just living wages, but getting to a point of providing broader self-sufficiency and job quality that looks different in people's different stages of life. And the need to expand our goals overall to create opportunities for innovative approaches and meet the needs of job seekers based on their interests, and align our system with others that are serving similar populations. Through that process as well, there was a lot of conversations about what we call our workforce development system, but we learned in our engagement process that we weren't all speaking about the same thing. So as part of this process, we also defined the Los Angeles Workforce Development Board system, and this is what it currently looks like. So it includes the Workforce Development Board, which I lead, and that brings together businesses, employers to meet the needs of the local labor market, local and regional government agencies such as the city, LA County, our city source centers, which includes WorkSource, YouthSource, FamilySource, and BusinessSource that lead different employer engagement and other programs that serve constituents. And then lastly, the broader ecosystem, which includes community-based organizations, labor, educators, and employers. And so a lot of the feedback we got is that we do a really great job of training individuals and educating people to get ready into jobs. But a lot of our partners said that we really need support bringing employers to the table, right, to actually make these job opportunities accessible. So next, I'm going to hand it over to Tammy to actually dive into the 5-year strategic plan.
Thank you, Hannah. So through the various workshops and engagements with stakeholders, we came up with the vision, purpose, and core values. Our vision being a workforce where all Angelenos have access to high-quality living wage jobs, registered apprenticeships, paid work experiences, and training. The purpose is to build the capacity of the city's workforce development system to meet the urgent needs of its residents and industries. And our 3 core values that came up through these working focus group is connect Angelenos with high-quality living wage jobs and opportunities to continue developing their skills and qualifications, ensure accessibility to pathways into quality jobs for all Angelenos, and adapt to changes in workforce needs, considering demand from both the worker and employer perspectives. And so before we move forward, what was really important for us is to actually define what high quality living wage jobs are for all of the whole entire workforce development system. And so we define high quality living wage jobs as positions that meet workers' basic needs for economic security and safety, but also are rewarding, engaging, equitable, and meaningful. And this plan will establish multiple metrics as indicators of quality jobs, starting with wages. So we use the MIT's living wage calculation for LA County, which said at that time $55,000 was the annual income for a living wage. Now it's about $57,000. We want to make sure that they have employer-provided benefits, access to promotional pathways and further training opportunities, and worker satisfaction data such as survey responses to evaluate satisfaction for subjective high-quality indicators. So the 5-year path forward will be driven by 4 key cornerstones, which are sector coalitions, regional collaborative, oversight committee, and policy and data committee, each representing a critical component of the workforce development ecosystem. So our North Star, as you see here, is to connect 50,000 Angelenos into high-quality living wage jobs, registered apprenticeships, paid work experiences, and training by 2030. So under the sector coalitions, we develop sector-specific strategies in industries that, 1, anticipate high-growth job job creation, as Shannon had mentioned, are receiving significant investment from state and federal programs, are establishing clear worker protections and high-quality jobs. And the idea behind this specific strategy is really to bring the employers to the table where economic development and workforce development ultimately drives the economic mobility for our community members. So currently there is employer engagement happening, but it's not strategic. For example, we expect the WorkSource centers to do the employer engagement in industries they select. With this new approach, the Workforce Development Board will be more strategic about establishing relationships on a regional level that are in high growth industries. So in each sector coalition, we will also establish non-traditional registered apprenticeships. And ultimately, we want to create an apprenticeship ecosystem in the region where we're really convening stakeholders across the region to create more opportunities in apprenticeship. We also want to align plans and priorities via one regional collaborative under the regional collaborative that I'll get to in another slide. So as Shannon had mentioned, we really use data to identify the sectors that we're going to focus on. And so from bioscience, blue and green economy to transportation. So prior to the development of this plan, there were other strategic plans focused on key target groups. The 5-year path forward acts as an umbrella strategy via the annual plan also is to create greater transparency, accountability, and more powerful methods to measure our progress toward the North Star. And so some of those plans include LA Win, which focuses on our infrastructure strategy. The Horizons plan focuses on opportunity youth. Advantage LA addresses the unique needs of older workers. The Youth Development Department's strategic plan focuses on workforce deliverables that uplift youth so they can have the knowledge and means to be economically independent. And the Youth Source Center, WorkSource Center redesigns, which you'll hear later by EWDD to enhance service delivery. And then the other two cornerstones that I won't get too into because it's very much, I would say, a little nerdy, and you probably don't want to hear too many details about it, but the other two cornerstones that we focused on is the activation of the Workforce Development Board Policy and Data Committee Oversight Committee to keep the system accountable and be a critical driver of data-informed decision-making and policy proposals. So that's what we really use as a metric or a measure for us to say, to check in and say, where are we at on these things, to provide policy proposals on how we can improve our workforce development system.
And so just to wrap up, the reason we chose, the workforce development chose these 4 areas is because we believe these cornerstones will really transform the Los Angeles workforce development system by aligning workforce strategies with high growth industries, creating stronger partnerships across the region, establishing clear leadership and accountability, and then using data to drive decisions. And this will lead us to an ecosystem where employment and education opportunities are accessible to all Angelenos. And so this last slide just talk about the timeline for implementation of a 5-year plan. So currently we're in year 1, we're just setting the foundation for many of our strategies, including key governance structures. We hope to launch 2 pilot sectors this year, as well as establish the registered apprenticeships framework. Next year we plan to scale and integrate, so launch our sector coalition, one that is specifically aligned with the work that we need to do in preparation for the Olympics and the World Cup. And then year 27 to 23 is really institutionalizing best practices and driving innovation. And along this, as Shannon said, just making sure that we're really paying attention to the labor market data and working in industries where we do anticipate high growth, but that growth will actually actualize so that we're training people for the jobs that actually exist in real time. So that's all we have. Thank you so much for your time.
Okay, well, thank you both for the report and for the presentation. Just kind of an opening question. Given the economic uncertainties that the city is facing and the potential cuts at the federal level, how are we addressing the potential decreases in available funding for the workforce program?
It's a great question. So in Trump's skinny budget, there is a proposed decrease to Department of Labor funding. I think that just makes the work more important than ever because we will have limited resources. And I think also really defines why we did this work in this way, which is that we have to collaborate. We have to maximize our resources by working with LA County, working with CBOs, working with labor together so that we can be more efficient in our strategies.
Talk about the industries that you're targeting as key sectors for employment opportunities. I know you kind of referenced them earlier, but can you go back and sort of hit them 3, 4, 5 for us?
There you go. So there are 8 sectors, and they're the same ones that Shannon broke down earlier, and that's based on projected job growth, but also jobs that are that require middle skills and provide living wages. And so we anticipate some of those sectors may shift. Like for example, right, the public sector was identified as one of the sectors last year, including jobs in the city, but also in the county. We anticipate that may change, and so we may have to shift, right, in terms of what industries of focus we will be pursuing throughout the 5 years of this plan.
Katie, questions?
Thank you so much, Mr. Chair. Thank you so much for your presentation. So I just want to sort of zoom out a little bit. We had LAEDC look at, what are the jobs that are growing, right? Looking at analysis of every council district. Great. So now we know where to chart our course. The mayor's office has been working diligently to sort of give shape to the board and WorkSource and try to connect folks with those jobs. So when they show up to a WorkSource center, we can actually connect them to something. From the mayor's sort of perspective, are there any industries that we're looking at right now on the slide that the connection is less obvious to connect folks? For example, construction, that sounds easy. There's a trades, there's apprenticeship programs, those are high, well paid. That makes a lot of sense to me. Performing arts, spectator sports, industries like that, very similar. There's a lot of union density in those places. SoFi, crypto, the Greek. You go there, you probably make a good wage and have health insurance. Where it seems less obvious to me is bioscience. Blue and green economy. I personally can't think of, okay, where are we going to send these folks? Like, is the mayor sort of, does he have an understanding of that? Are you grappling with that way to connect folks, or maybe his answer there?
No, you are touching on all the right things, is because our community members and the people that we really want to connect with may not know what bioscience or blue and green economy is. And so what we want to do is really work with our partners that Hannah had just mentioned in our broader ecosystem to ensure we're reaching LAUSD's kids, youth-built students, and to understand that. And so the work that the Workforce Development Board is really important, because that they're bringing the employers to the table, but just as important is for us to work with the youth source centers and our work source centers and using our marketing dollars and other things that we have so that they understand what is bioscience and how can I actually get into the field. So I think we do have a lot of work in those specific areas, because if we have a problem identifying those things, then our youth also and other populations as well.
Okay, so as we've charted we know where we want to go. Mm-hmm. There's on that front, we still need to. So you agree with me? It's less clear than construction and some of these.
In terms of people knowing how to access, yes, and understanding what is that sector, yes.
Okay, sounds like Mr. Gerardo's coming.
Can I add one thing too? The other piece is that there's a lot of occupations in these industries that are in multiple industries, right? So one question we often hear is, where's manufacturing, trade and logistics? Those jobs are in these different sectors as well. And so I think that's a different lens that we're looking in, is that it might be the same types of training that people can achieve, right? But now we're connecting them to new industries where they haven't had access before. And so that's part of the plan.
Okay. Something to add, Mr.?
Yeah, and one thing I wanted to add is I think one of the things that's common among all of these industries that have been identified is the fact that there's middle skill wage jobs with minimal education. So biotech, for example, there's short-term certificated training programs available through our community colleges that after 16 weeks, individuals can earn over $70,000 a year. And one of the 800 pages of appendices that were included in the PIJ report is an appendix that provides occupational data, and it breaks it down by educational attainment required to achieve that. So, from PhDs to less than a high school diploma. And I think many of these, there's a sweet spot where it's vocational training available with just a high school diploma, leading to middle skill employment.
Gotcha. Okay. And in this, thank you so much for that. Has there, since we're talking to the mayor's office, has there been any conversations with GRID about how we connect some of our youth that are being case managed by GRID to connect them to these kinds of jobs? Any conversations happening? sort of intersect between those two worlds?
Yes, we've met with the grid to discuss that and to bring them into the system if they're not already in our system to reach, better reach those populations.
Okay. All right. And then lastly, any sort of considerations about barriers to connecting folks to these jobs? Again, from the mayor's perspective, or Mr. Rubalcaba can jump in, because something we heard was, yes, we can connect folks to these jobs, but there are, some challenges that we need to go through, whether that's soft skills or, maybe there's a step in between, right? And so some of the programs that have been really exciting to see is like the Higher LAX program, or the multi-craft core curriculum in the trades, where you're not putting them straight into a job, but it's like the step in between. Any sort of thoughts around that?
Yeah, so Tammy here is very excited to lead the effort. We're actually looking on developing a registered apprenticeship ecosystem in non-traditional sectors as part of this plan. So expanding on the learnings on programs like Higher ALX to create new apprenticeship programs where we could have a young person or even someone changing careers, right, learn while they're on the job and gain some of those soft skills before just throwing them into kind of permanent employment.
Yeah. Okay.
If I can add one thing, and that will get into the Workforce Center redesign, as we'll present in our presentation. One of our goals is to make additional resources available for our participants so we can address some of those barriers.
Yeah.
Again, one of the things we heard over and over is that one of the biggest barriers for low-income people in participating in a 16-week training program is that they need to earn money, right? They can't take time away from work to go into that training program, even if it leads to a big increase in pay. So that's one of the things that we explored as we look to redesign our Workforce Center system.
Right. Thank you so much. No, I appreciate you jumping in, because this is really going to be. There's so many different offices that touch this. We really have to all jump in, and so I appreciate the report from LAEDC and from the mayor's office, and we'll soon hear from EWDD. I might have some other questions also, but thank you for answering some of them. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Councilman Park? Okay, thank you again for the presentation. We're going to recommend that we approve the recommendations of the board's report and instruct EWDD to report on a semi-annual basis on the metrics, KPIs, and benchmarks for the plan. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay.
Councilmember Price.
Aye.
Councilmember Soto Martinez.
Yes.
Councilmember Nazarian, absent. Councilmember Jurado, absent. Councilmember Park.
Yes.
3 ayes, this item is approved as amended.
All right. Members, we have item before. It's given the lateness of the hour, and the volume of the material that we need to go through. I'm going to recommend that we continue this discussion until our next meeting, unless there's a strong objection to do otherwise.
None whatsoever.
No, I'm okay with that. Yeah.
All right. So being no objection, we're going to continue this item till our next meeting. All right?
Okay.
Mr. Clerk, what's on our agenda? What's next on our
The
agenda?
desk is cleared.
Okay, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you so much.